Hi, this is Bob, and welcome to the Global Dispatch Radio Network. Now, on a previous show, when I discussed the good, the bad, and the ugly about the Donald Trump presidency, I classified as ugly his poorly thought out positions on tariffs. Every economist from Adam Smith to Hayek to Milton Friedman warned about the consequences of tariffs. One of the things we are waiting on is Trump's threatened 25% tariff on all imported vehicles. This would amount to an estimated $45 billion tax on consumers and wipe out any benefits from the tax cut for low and middle income Americans, writes Forbes auto industry contributor Greg Gardner. Quote, tariffs on autos and auto parts raise vehicle prices for all customers. They limit consumer choice and invite retaliatory action by our trading partners, said the Alliance of Automobile Manufacturers last month. They go on to say, automakers support reducing trade barriers across the board and achieving fairness through facilitating rather than inhibiting trade, close quote. Now, the Peterson Institute for International Economics estimates that Trump's 25% tariff on imported vehicles could reduce U.S. auto production by 1.5% and eliminate nearly 200,000 U.S. jobs between now and the end of 2021. If other countries retaliate, which they're really kind of already doing, the job loss could more than triple to over 600,000 jobs, according to Peterson's analysis. Now, in addition, prices will increase by somewhere between around $455 to nearly $7,000 per vehicle, depending on the assembly location and the level of imported content, according to a Center for Automotive Research report. While Trump and the Republican Party are touting the tax cuts that Congress passed late last year, a trade war could quickly eliminate those benefits for a majority of working Americans, according to the Tax Foundation. In addition, Trump is trying to tie this tariff into a questionable national security issue. Now, on C-SPAN last week, co-director with the Mercatus Center at George Mason University, Daniel Griswold, talked specifically about this. Let's see what he had to say.
I think the big showdown is going to be over automobiles. The president has in the works a 20% tariff on all automobile imports to the United States under the cloak of national security. Again, I think that's an abuse of the system. Consumers are going to be hurt. The price of new cars is going to go up $2,000 to $6,000. That's going to hurt poor people the most because it's going to price them out of the market. It's going to hurt the U.S. auto sector, which is actually doing quite well. We're exporting a record 2.4 billion cars. To me, what symbolizes it, the president seems to have a special fixation on German imports. The biggest BMW plant in the world is in Spartanburg, South Carolina. They employ 8,000 Americans earning good salaries. They export 70% of their vehicles to Europe and China. Those jobs are going to be in jeopardy if we start a global trade war over automobiles.
Can you give us an example in recent history where the president has used the national security clause to implement a tariff? It's
been used in very limited circumstances. My understanding, it was used in the 1970s a couple of times on oil imports from Iran. President Reagan used it in the 1980s on machine tools. Again, very limited, very, very targeted. But no president has ever used it to this scope and with such tenuous connection to national security.
Back to your comment on the potential tariff on automobiles. Where is the administration in that process? Is that close to being announced, or
they've initiated a 232? The Commerce Department is studying it. I have my doubts of how objective that study will be, and I think sometime in the next 2 or 3 months before the election, and I think that's by design, they're going to announce some potential action against automobiles. The take is it isn't really about national security. Nobody really believes that. I think the president sees it as a bargaining tool with Europe, with our NAFTA partners. I think that's a mistake. The downside risks are huge. We shouldn't go down this road.
Now, last week, the issue was looked at during the first day of a Commerce Department hearing in Washington and received scant support and widespread opposition. Gardner writes in an article last week, Toyota estimates the cost of Kentucky-built Camry would increase by $1,800, the Texas-built Tundra truck, $2,800, and the Indiana-built Sienna minivan by $3,000. Now, in a Trumpian world, all vehicles sold in the U.S. would be assembled here. Gardner continues, so that vision would require all vehicles imported from outside the U.S. to be shifted to assembly plants inside our borders. Not only is that impractical and costly, it totally ignores market trends. Now, if Trump wants to ruin an economy running pretty much on all cylinders at this point, this and the other tariffs, the steel and aluminum and others, is a step in that perilous direction. For more news and views, check out theglobaldispatch.com. That's theglobaldispatch.com.